we are finally talking about F1. Carter's going to read his entire essay that he wrote.
And it's lights out and away we go!
It has the potential to be the most underrated sport of all time. It is one of the most exhilarating sports, the most drama-filled sports, and just everything. It just has a little bit of everything.
Come on, just with me. Unbelievable.
All right, basically, a little background here. If you know me, you know, at least in person, like personally, you know, I've been obsessed with Formula One since like, I know what, bro, like February, bro. It's literally been my whole life. It's actually an addiction, and yeah. So like we've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and I was really trying to convince Andrew to get into it, and he finally got into it, and now I'm so happy.
Let me tell you, bro. I had been putting off. So there's this show on Netflix. We're not sponsored, but hey, if F1 wants to sponsor us. He told me to watch Drive to Survive, which is a series on Netflix about F1, and they make a new season every F1 season. Since what, 2018? My math might be a little off.
2018 was the first season they covered.
Yeah. So I had never really took an interest in it, and Carter was like, dude, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. And that went on for like 3 months. I didn't think F1 was that fun. Let me tell you, I watched one episode. I watched one episode of that series. I am obsessed with F1 now. And people, I tell people, I'm like, so do you watch F1? You know what F1 is? And they're like, no, that's stupid. No, it's not stupid. It is amazing. And it's so like, I've never actually like taken a new sport and tried to learn it before. But F1, bro, I went out of my way to learn all the rules, players, quote unquote, and the drivers, the teams, all of that stuff. I went into a full try-hard mode for about a solid 2 weeks, just learning everything. And now I actually get to have the viewing pleasure of watching the races almost every Sunday, and it's been a completely new experience, and it's just so much fun. I love the sport so much.
It is incredible. I mean, it's life-changing. But okay, a little bit of background on the sport stuff, just so you kind of know what we're talking about. There are 10 teams in the sport, and I'm gonna go ahead and list those. There's Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Alpine, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Williams, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. So let's just start. Haas, absolute garbage, in the bin, horrible. Alfa Romeo, also pretty bad, but like
not as bad as Haas. Haas literally has like $6 in
Haas really sucks. Haas is the only team that doesn't have any points so far this season, and you get points by if you're one of your drivers, which there's 2 drivers per team, gets a top 10 in a race, and there's 20 drivers. Haas has not had one top 10 finish at all this year because their car is horrible. Then there's Williams, Andrew's favorite team, and that's driven by young protege George Russell, who will be going to Mercedes next year, and he drives along the king, Nicholas Latifi. Then there's Aston Martin, who has Lance Stroll, aka Daddy's Cash, and then 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel.
But here comes Sebastian Vettel
On their team. Then there's AlphaTauri, which is Red Bull's sort of junior team, or like they call it a sister team. But they have young smoke show Pierre Gasly, my man, Pierre Gasly,
an absolute stud.
And Pierre Gasly is a stud. Then they got the young rookie Yuki Tsunoda. And then you have Alpine with Esteban Ocon, and I believe 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso.
Yep.
And then you got Ferrari. Everyone knows Ferrari, the car in red. They got Charles Leclerc, young protege, Carlos Sainz, most underrated driver on the grid on their team. And then you have McLaren, my personal favorite team. You have Lando Norris, who, in my opinion, I think is the most exciting young talent, especially this season. He's just showed so much progress. And then you have my favorite person in all Formula One, Daniel Ricciardo, the GOAT, the man, the myth, the legend.
It is impossible to hate that guy.
It really is.
Daniel Ricciardo, smile. Like,
bro, he's just he's so cute. I mean, cool. Like, he is the reason I fell in love with Formula One. I fell in love with him, like his personality and everything first. But yeah, then there's Red Bull, which is Dan Ricciardo's former team. And they have Sergio Perez, driver from Mexico, mad underrated as well. Very good. Then they have Max Verstappen, who is basically the Patrick Mahomes of Formula One. Then you have Mercedes, which is Valtteri Bottas, and then Lewis Hamilton. And Lewis Hamilton is essentially the Tom Brady of Formula One.
Yeah.
And a little bit of context on the season, Mercedes and Red Bull are the two teams vying for the Constructors' Championship, and then Verstappen and Hamilton are the two drivers driving for the Drivers' Championship. And let me just tell y'all, it is going down to the wire. There's 6 races left. I'm so excited because it's like so close, bro.
It is extremely close. Insane. Yes.
But, yes.
Yeah.
So, now into the essay. So, Formula One is the number one growing sport in the world, with sports like MMA, UFC, golf, MLB, NBA, NFL, all behind it. They're steadily growing. But Formula One is skyrocketing above. And I mean skyrocketing, like it's insane. And it's all due to that Drive to Survive series. I mean, it hooked me in, it hooked Andrew in. It's hooking people in all across the world, especially America. It's the quickest, fastest form of motorsport on the planet. Like you compare lap times around a circuit of IndyCar, NASCAR, any type of car, a Formula One car has the fastest lap time. It's the very top. The best drivers drive in Formula One, like no matter what. They have a system. They have ranks you can rise through, such as Formula 3, Formula 2, and then Formula 1 itself. And Formula 3 and Formula 2 are sort of junior categories for, young talent to rise through into Formula 1. And there's a system called super license points that you have to have a certain criteria of to qualify to be able to be in Formula 1. And this is to counteract people that basically can buy their way into a team, such as some people have done in the past, and you could argue are doing right now, even though they do technically qualify for the super license. Yeah, and quickest cars, best drivers, most expensive sport in the world. I mean, your average Formula One car costs upwards of $20 million. So,
and everybody, like, if you sit in a garage, like even the people who change tires, their average salary is $330,000 per year.
Yeah, bro, for real.
You are surrounded by rich people.
It's a world championship. I mean, you travel all 6 continents. No, you travel 5 of 7 continents. Bring back Africa, please. But yeah, they don't have a race in Antarctica or Africa right now, but I really hope they get one in Africa soon. But it is a world championship, and like Andrew said, it is money. I mean, cash flow in that. Like for real, you don't like the amount of money that Formula One generates and requires to stay afloat is just insane.
It is
like one of my dreams in life is to go to the Monaco Grand Prix, just because I don't know if you know anything about Monaco. But that place is like there's barely any taxes, so it's just billionaires. They don't have Toyota or Ford dealerships. They have McLaren and Ferrari and Lamborghini dealerships, bro. Like that, you just know it's lit in Monaco.
Monaco is like the number one racing town, city, whatever you want to call it, in the world, arguably, and especially
it's been on the calendar the longest.
Yes, like, it is the biggest F1 race of the season, 9 times out of 10.
For sure.
It's a huge atmosphere. We'd love to go if it didn't cost $5,000 for a ticket, plus the other $10,000 it costs to go across the world. That is irrelevant. The TDT funds will pay for that. But our dream is to go to one of those races. We want to go to the race in Texas. That is actually this weekend, I believe. If I'm not.
It's at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. In Austin? Yeah, it's in Austin.
Yeah, Austin, Texas. So, we really want to make a video out of that one day. They're adding the Miami track next season, so hopefully we can do something with that. I doubt it because it's so expensive, but we'll see.
Hey, man. TDT podcast will pay for it. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you how much bread this podcast makes, y'all. Absolutely no money at all. But we can change that. Change that. That's
right. Just like and subscribe. Hit our TikTok and Instagram. We're blowing.
We do have a TikTok now. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It is blowing
at TDT Podcast on TikTok. But back to the essay. So now the money, the speed, the attractions, the drivers. That's not the only reason to watch Formula One. the biggest reason I love Formula One is for the rivalries and the drama. I mean, it gets intense, bro. Y'all understand?
Amount of drama in this sport.
In the championship fight between Lewis and Max right now, like they're separated by 8 points, I believe, and they've collided, wrecked each other out, I think 2 to 3 times. And I mean, every time has been so controversial and just so much it's so intense, dude. Because the thing with Formula One and all the drivers have road rage, bro. It's so funny. Over the radio, it's hilarious. But you have classic rivalries like Senna and Prost in the 90s and 80s, or Niki Lauda and James Hunt, or Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, 3 years ago. Yeah. And then now you have Max and Lewis. It's so intense. It's so drama filled. And then this is not a reason to be a fan of the sport at all, but the wrecks, when a car wrecks and goes completely out of control, it's so terrifyingly amazing in the way that it's just holy shit, that can happen.
Yeah. Well, and there have been multiple deaths, which is obviously very sad. But at the same time, whenever there are crashes, as long as they're okay, it is very drama ensued, and especially with the Max and Lewis crash. I'll show that up on the screen at the current moment. If you
especially Silverstone.
What'd you say?
Especially Silverstone. That was
But I'll show those crashes up there. They're okay, but I mean,
the Roman Grosjean crash.
Oh yeah, I could show that as well.
That one's scary, bro.
The point is, whenever there's a crash, especially with the championship leaders, it is insane because F1 can change in a snap of the fingers. So the championship points as long as it's a closer lead. And the thing with drama in F1 is that there are only 20 drivers. There's only 10 teams. It's not like the NFL or soccer or baseball where there are lots and lots of teams, 30 teams. F1's only got 10. They've only got 20 driving seats. The rosters change so much. There's so much drama between the teams, and then who hates who, and the pettiness of if somebody leaves and goes to a better team, or vice versa. It's an absolutely, most people don't like drama, but trust me, F1 drama is different from football drama. The drama really affects how the season's gonna go and how people are gonna race.
Mm-hmm. One wreck can completely shake up a race. Say someone wrecks and there's a little bit of debris on the track, they bring out a safety car that can completely change the race, and that can cause some wild finishes and podiums that you never expect. And then the weather can completely change a race. We had a race that got canceled within 3 laps because the weather was so bad this year at Spa, which is honestly one of my, I think, top 3 tracks in all of Formula One. Spa is insane, man.
And what's funny about that race? That race holds a special place for me personally, because that is the first F1 race that I watched, keeping up with F1, as a fan. When I declared myself that I was a fan of F1, that was the first race I watched, and it got canceled in 3 laps. And I was like, well, this sport is fantastic. And
it's addicting, bro. It's addicting. It's insane. But I mean, and this is the turbo hybrid era we're in currently. Next year there's brand new regulations that could completely shake up the grid. A team like Haas or Alfa Romeo or Williams could shoot up the order all the way to the top. You never regulation change the sport up so much. And this current season is the tightest, most closest season in terms of ability of the cars in the last 10 years.
I really feel like this season, sorry, I just completely cut you off, but I'm going after a point before you go on to something else. I think that this season really focuses on, since the cars are so similar, and we've had some controversy with, car designs being copied from championship cars like Mercedes a couple years back. We've had some controversy with that, but the fact that the cars are so close in design, except for Haas, we really get to see the talent of the drivers, more or less the engineers. We really do get, props to the engineers. They don't get enough credit for designing these cars that they drive in, but we really do get to see the talent and the skill of the drivers. I feel like this season more than ever, because the cars are so similar.
And for real, there's other series out there such as IndyCar or NASCAR or even Formula E, which is like Formula One but electric, or even MotoGP, which is like motorcycles, which is cool also, or Rally, which is very cool. But the thing that puts Formula One above every other series is just the glamour, the drama, and the speed of it. I mean, it's the fastest in the world. It's the most exclusive in the world. It's the best in the world. Like really, I think in my honest opinion, Formula One is my favorite sport. I love football. I always will, but it is my favorite sport. Like I love Formula One, man. It's just it's addicting. It really is. Like the cars,
it's so
the
addicting.
strategies, the teams, the engineering that goes into the cars. Like each car, like I said, is like upwards of $20 million in technology. Like it is insane, man. And you think of the Toyota Prius and hybrid technology. Guess like that's such a standard thing now in road cars, but guess where that started? Formula One started hybrid technology. Like it develops so much that it's just wild. It's wild to see.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And another thing is like, for what I personally love about F1 is that we do live in the South. We live in Tennessee, and a lot of the most southern racing thing for at least America is NASCAR. Personally, I don't like NASCAR because of the fact that you only go to NASCAR games, right? I keep saying games, races, is for the atmosphere, right? But for F1, you go there for not only the atmosphere, but you also get to see the drivers, the drama, and just everything. Everything is in F1. F1's got a little bit of everything, and it makes it perfect. And the main point that I was getting to was that NASCAR only goes in circles. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like watching a car going in a straight circle for 2 hours on end. I like it where there's an actual track where you weave it out and there's corners and straights and all this other. Straights are my personal favorite. That's why I like Spa and Monza so much and all those other tracks. But I like straights. You get a variety. You're not just watching the same circle over and over again. That overtakes are one of the biggest things in F1, and they're the coolest things. An overtake is when if you're a car, F1 car is behind someone else and you pass them in a certain way. Danny Ricciardo, Carter's personal favorite driver, is amazing at overtakes. He
the GOAT.
Steps on the brake extremely late, and it's amazing to watch. It's just F1 to me feels like NASCAR, and IndyCar is basically F1 with a little mix of NASCAR. It's like the kid of NASCAR and F1. But F1 to me feels like a perfect mixture of everything, and you really get the same excitement that you get from other racing sports.
I mean, the thing with really any racing, especially not really as much NASCAR because there's less overtaking around sharp turns, but like IndyCar and Formula One, it's literally a competition of who has the biggest balls, bro. I swear to God.
Yeah, literally.
It's who can be latest on the brake. It's who can exact the most out of the car. And it's who can be the best and who can, especially like the thing with Formula One that's really interesting when you really get down into it is the strategy behind it, because it's so in depth to where levels that I still didn't even understand, with tire strategy and how long you can manage the tires without creating wear. And the rules in Formula One is that I believe you have to include at least one stop unless like weather affects the race, I think, which really shakes it up because like there's 3 compounds of tires: hard, which lasts the longest, medium, and then which is in the medium between hard and soft, and the soft, which is the best grip and the fastest tire, but it only lasts 10 to 15 laps max. So like a lot of teams late in a race will try and switch onto softs to finish the race as fast as they possibly can, but some teams will try and do only a one-stop strategy with hards, and it just tire grip and lockups, which is where basically you brake so hard that your tires stop spinning and you slide almost, which are really dangerous. They cause a lot of wrecks, but like it's just the strategy behind it. It's so intense. G-force. If you've ever taken off a plane, you get thrown back in your seat. That's G-force.
These drivers
4 to 5 G's per turn.
Exactly.
Like watch a Formula One driver work out It's so intense, bro. They'd be like, oh, they train their necks so much. They all have huge necks just to handle the pure G-force because they get thrown around that car going 200 miles an hour around a turn.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And if you wreck, like Max Verstappen, when he wrecked at Silverstone, which is the British Grand Prix, he hit the wall at 51 Gs. That's enough to kill a person. He just walked away. Like, bro, it's insane. It's insane. 20 years ago, 20 to 40 years ago, a Formula One driver does that, they're dead. Like, modern technology also increased a lot of the sport that makes it a lot safer.
Well, that's another thing is, speaking of technology that makes it safer, one of the most controversial things at the time added to F1 cars was something called the halo. Its name is quite literally meaning to save people. But the halo was this mechanism added on top of the cockpit of the car, where it kind of looks like a wishbone almost. But it wraps around the top of the cockpit. So the design for it is if the car does flip, the driver's helmet and neck doesn't hit the road. Instead, the halo does, and protects them. And yet it's still more aerodynamic, and they made it a way to make it safer. However, also make the car, as fast as it used to be. And so they're constantly making
faster.
No, I said as fast.
I know that cars are faster than they were 3 years ago.
Yeah. But the point is, they're constantly updating the cars, making them safer for the drivers, but also making it more intense. And it's just this whole thing. You get to see the rules change literally every season, and with new tracks being added, it's this whole thing. It's just so exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, Formula One is absolutely insane. If you don't watch it, I strongly recommend you do, because it's growing a lot, especially in the US, and there's a lot of people out there that it's a great community. Unless you're on Twitter, then it's kind of toxic. But other than that, it's fantastic.
Twitter admins for the F1 teams are a little wild, but
not even that. The fans, like when Max and Lewis collide, Max fans and Lewis fans, they absolutely go at it. It's really funny to watch from a standby. But I mean, if you don't watch Formula One, if you don't watch IndyCar, any sort of racing like that, I strongly suggest you do, because it's such a fascinating world to get into. Yeah. And yeah, man, it's absolutely wild.
It's absolutely insane.
Formula One is happiness. It's almost the same.
Formula One is happiness. You heard it from Carter Collins himself. Well, that is gonna wrap up this highly anticipated video. If you did like it, it wouldn't hurt to just hit that red little button down at the bottom right corner of your screen. And also, please go check out F1. It's such an amazing sport. We highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. Guarantee you that. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add. It sounds like Carter doesn't either. So that's going to wrap it up. We hope you guys enjoyed. And we will catch you guys next time. No more monthly breaks. We're done with that.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, see ya.